Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 7:00 p.m., our last Planning Commission meeting of the year. Welcome to the December 9th, 2024 City of Burlingame Planning Commission meeting. For all in attendance today, please note that this Planning Commission meeting is being held in person and using the Zoom webinar format. Please note that we are not accepting remote public comment during commission meetings. We ask that the public either attend the meetings in person to comment or send an email to publiccomment@burlingame.org. Staff will be monitoring emails just submitted during the meeting, which will be read at the appropriate time. Agenda item number 2, roll call. The record should note that all 7 members of the Planning Commission meeting are present this evening. Agenda item number 3, request for AB 2249 remote participation. We do not need any tonight. Agenda item number 4, approval of the minutes. We have meeting minutes to review and approve this evening from the November 25th, 2024 regular Planning Commission meeting. Do we have any comments, changes, or discussions regarding the minutes? And if not, do we have any motions?
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes of November 25th, 2024.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Camarado, seconded by Commissioner Schmidt to approve the minutes. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Camarado,
Aye.
Commissioner Pfaff,
Aye.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Aye.
Commissioner Shores,
Aye.
Commissioner Say,
Aye.
Vice Chair Haran,
Aye.
Chair Lowenthal.
Aye. The minutes motion passes 7-0-0-0. Agenda item number 5, approval of the agenda. Staff, are there any changes to our agenda this evening?
There are none.
Do we have any recusals?
I will be recusing from 1317 Paloma, item 9B, since I have a property within 500 feet of that property.
Very well. Any others? No. On to agenda item number 6, public comments, non-agenda. Members of the public may speak about any item not on the agenda. Members of the public wishing to suggest an item for future Planning Commission agenda may do so during the public comment period. The Ralph Brown Act, the state local agency open meeting law, prohibits the Planning Commission from acting on any matter that is not on the agenda. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. Do we have any members of the public attending in person who wish to speak on any item that is not on the agenda? And did we receive any public comment emails?
We did not.
Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on. Agenda item number 7, study items. We do not have any study items this evening. Agenda item number 8, consent calendar. Items on the consent calendar are considered to be routine. They are acted on simultaneously unless separate discussion and/or action is requested by the applicant, a member of the public, or a commissioner prior to the time the commission votes on the motion to adopt. This evening, we have 2 items on the consent calendar. Item 8A is 739 Laurel Avenue. Would anyone like to pull that for discussion? No? Would any member of the public like to pull that item? No? Do we have any motions for that item?
We could, through the chair, if the entire consent calendar can be, you can take a motion on the entire consent calendar. So you could also ask if there's anyone wishing to pull item 8B as well. If not, then you can take one motion in action on both items.
I like the sound of that. So we have item 8A and item 8B. The other one was the 2025 Planning Commission calendar. Does anybody want to pull either item? Any members of the public would like to pull? Otherwise, do we have any motions?
I'll make a motion to approve items 8A and 8B on the consent calendar.
I'll second.
Oh, great. We have a motion by Commissioner Pfaff, seconded by Commissioner Haran. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Camarado,
Aye.
Commissioner Pfaff,
Aye.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Aye.
Commissioner Shores,
Aye.
Commissioner Say,
Aye.
Vice Chair Haran,
Aye.
Chair Lowenthal.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0-0. On to agenda item number 9, regular action item. First one up, item 9A, 475.5 Rollins Road. If you are the applicant and are attending the meeting via Zoom, please raise your hand so that we may be prepared for you to speak at the appropriate time. If possible, we ask that you also turn on your video at the time. Were any commissioners not able to visit the project site, or do any commissioners wish to note any ex parte communications regarding this project? Let the record note that all commissioners present have visited the project site. Can we hear a staff report?
Yes, thank you. This is an application for a design review amendment for as-built changes to a previously approved new 2-story single-unit dwelling with a detached garage at 475.5 Rollins Road, zoned R1. This application was approved by the Planning Commission in May of 2019. A building permit was issued in July of 2020, and a final inspection for the project occurred in January of this year. At that time, planning staff noted that there were a number of significant as-built changes and instructed the applicant to apply for an amendment. The amendment was for the as-built changes was originally before you on May 13th, 2024. At that meeting, the Planning Commission had several suggestions for revisions to these as-built changes and voted to continue the application. The staff report lists the as-built changes for you, and there's also a letter from the applicant noting changes that they have made in response to the comments from the meeting back in May. That concludes my presentation. The applicant's here this evening. If you have any questions, thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions for staff? Okay, I'm going to open the public hearing. Will the applicant please come forward and state your name and anything else you'd like to add about your project?
Yes, my name's Brad Gunkel with Gunkel Architecture. Can you hear me? I'm joining via Zoom.
Yes, we hear you.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to share my screen. Or I guess I'm sending.
I'm sorry, we don't allow
Oh, okay.
applicants to share screen.
Well, I guess I don't know if you guys, I guess you guys all have the presentation, so I'll just kind of walk you through it. I think probably the most important pages start at A3.1. So on each one of the A3 pages, we have 4 images. The image on the bottom left is the original approved design. The images up above on the left and to the right are basically the as-built condition that you had previously seen. The one on the left being a rendering of it and the one on the right being a photograph of it. And then at the bottom right of each page is the proposed revisions to the as-built conditions in order to basically comply with the design intent of the original design. And so by that, it's not always necessarily exactly the original design. In some cases, it's modifications to the original design, but done in a way that we feel is of, still meets the design intent. And so what you can see on A3.1 is that we are adding fins, basically projecting fins around the top 3 windows of the second floor. And this is on the southwest elevation. This is probably the most visible elevation of the house from surrounding yards. And then also on the lower level, you can see that we are kind of wrapping previously the Trespa paneling had stopped immediately at the outside corner. And so we're actually wrapping it around the corner 6 inches and then having that wrap of the same siding project out 2 inches so that it creates the feeling of basically a wall that continues to the end and terminates. And then beyond that, which I think becomes more visible in, let's see here. Well, I think on A3.2, you can see the same condition happening on the ground floor on the bottom right image as well. And there again, we're wrapping that Trespa around 6 inches and having it project out 2 inches. And then the A3.3, the elevations are completely in compliance with the original approved design. And A3.4, I think you're going to see. So this is where the building, the house was built without the Trespa or faux wood siding on a couple of the elevations, and the doors and windows were white instead of gray. And so what we're proposing is actually putting another coat of the integral color cement plaster over the white cement plaster on the lower level. This would be a gray integral color cement plaster to provide a sort of concrete look. And we feel that that combined with painting all of the white doors, windows, painting those all metallic gray, and then continuing that trespa around so that you actually see the profile of the wall projecting to terminate the cementitious plaster will create a nice finish appearance that I think you guys were looking for. It wasn't necessarily reflected in what had been built. And so again, on A3.5, you are seeing how I think the best way to compare this would be to look at 3 as the as-built condition, and then 1 below that is what we're proposing. So there you can see the difference between the two. We are proposing the fins on the 3 southwest windows on the top floor, not the window on the northwest elevation. As you can see, that window is mostly covered by trees and pretty much invisible to the neighbors. And so we just thought that it would be a kind of wasted to put the trim there, and also that the trim would just end up collecting the debris from the adjacent redwood tree. And so A3.6 again shows how we're kind of wrapping that trespa on the lower level, having it project out so that it becomes a termination point for that cementitious plaster. And then we're using the natural gray cementitious plaster that kind of looks, create a concrete look on that lower level. And then if you go to, I think we've also provided the last 3 images are the details for the projecting fin around those 3 upper floor southwest windows. So basically creating a fin that is offset from the window by 2 inches, that provides visible stucco between it and the trim on the top and on the sides, and then on the bottom we believe that you won't be able to see the flange attached above the trim, similar to the top. And so yeah, I think that's reflected in the elevations that you'd previously seen. So that all said, if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them for you. And thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the applicant?
Yeah, I actually do. Was there any thought, I'm recalling the comments that we had several months ago on this. Was there any thought to giving the doorway below let's see what we're on. Where you're putting the fins, it would be A3.1. Was there any thought to doing some kind of an overhang over that back door, like even if it's corrugated metal or something different? Everything just looks so flat, I mean, to me. But since you're doing the fins on the top,
I know that this was obviously the original design had an awning over those lower sliders, and during construction, the owners came to really like the amount of direct light coming into, because that's basically the entrance to that's the great room right there, and it opens directly between the kind of the great room and the rear yard, were really the primary yard of the house. And so I know their preference is to not go back to having an awning there because they like the direct light coming into that space.
and then I'll just go further. The going around the corner to complete the fins on the rest of the windows. You mentioned you didn't You didn't, the thought was it didn't matter because no one can see it, the tree is there, but the tree maybe won't always be there. I'm just
Mhm.
thinking,
Yeah, I mean, it's one additional window that had been shown with something, frankly, in the original design review said it showed a projecting fin of some sort, wasn't clarified in the approved drawings, and so the right now what we're showing are the fins up the three southwest windows. The redwood tree that blocks the house at the northwest corner is shared on multiple properties, and the owners had originally pursued having that tree removed and were told that they could not. So it is, a lot of debris is collecting from it on their yard and the roof, etc. And so I know it's their preference to not have a fin there, since it would both be invisible and basically be a collector of the debris from the redwood tree.
if I could also just ask one last question. The original approved, I don't know if they were fins, kind of the frame network that went around the windows. Do you know the projection, how far out they went?
That was never clarified. It was more that the renderings showed something of, it projecting there, and it was not clarified. And so, when it was approved.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have any other questions for the applicant? Okay. Do we have any members of the public attending in person who wish to speak on this item, or did we receive any public comment emails?
No public comment emails.
Okay. Then I'm going to close the public hearing. Commissioners, do we have any comments or motions?
Yeah, I mean, when this came before us originally, we spent a lot of time talking about it. So I think the changes made reflect the minutes that we had from that meeting. I do like the fins. They add a little bit of depth on the second floor. I understand maybe the maintenance issue on that side window. I was going to say, why not add that fourth window, but I don't think it's visible. And if it's a maintenance issue, it's not critical for me. And yeah, I think the smooth stucco in a concrete color probably solves the ground floor issue that we had. So I'm okay with the changes as proposed.
I'm in agreement with Commissioner Haran and feel the changes were a good add. I appreciate the team taking the extra steps to push that through. And I think it'll make a better product. Thanks.
Commissioner Fay?
Oh, I was just going to answer Commissioner Pfaff's question. Just scaling the fins off the drawings, they look like they're about 4 inches originally proposed.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. I appreciate that.
Scale, but otherwise I agree with what my fellow commissioners have stated.
I tend to agree as well. Do we have any motions on the topic?
Make a motion that we approve the changes as
I'll second that motion.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Schmidt, second by Commissioner Say. Any discussion? We have a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Camerado,
Aye.
Commissioner Pfaff,
Aye.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Aye.
Commissioner Shores,
Aye.
Commissioner Say,
Aye.
Vice Chair Haran,
Aye.
and Chair Lowenthal.
Aye. The motion passes 7-0-0-0-0. One less zero. An action by the Planning Commission is appealable to the City Council within 10 days of the Planning Commission's action. If the Planning Commission's action has not been appealed or called up for review by the City Council by the 5 p.m. on the 10th day, the action becomes final. In order to be effective, appeals must be in writing and must be accompanied by an appeal fee of $900, which includes noticing costs. Congratulations. Moving on to item 9B, 1317 Paloma Avenue. If you are the applicant and are attending the meeting via Zoom, please raise your hand so that we may be prepared for you to speak at the appropriate time. If possible, we ask that you also turn on your video at that time. Were any commissioners not able to visit the project site, or do any commissioners wish to note any ex parte communications regarding this project? Let the record note that Commissioner Camerado is recusing from this item 9B. And let the record note that all other commissioners present have visited the project site. Can we hear a staff report, please?
Yes, thank you. This is an application for an amendment to design review for as-built changes to a previously approved new two-story single-unit dwelling with detached garage at 1317 Pelona Avenue, zoned R1. An application for design review and special permit for second-story plate height for a new two-story single-unit dwelling and detached garage was approved by the Planning Commission on October 24th, 2022. A building permit was issued on September 6, 2023, and construction is nearing completion at this time. Several exterior modifications were done during construction and were noted by planning staff, and the applicant has applied for a design review amendment for these as-built changes. There have been 2 previous hearings for this amendment request before you this evening. You did see the project on October 15th. And then again on November 12th. There were concerns expressed with the requested changes, and the Planning Commission did continue those hearings with some direction to the applicant. For your reference, minutes are attached to the staff report. The applicant has now submitted revised plans dated November 25th to address the concerns from those previous meetings, and also submitted a letter of explanation dated December 3rd. It is also attached in your staff report and summarized in the staff, attached to the staff report. That concludes my presentation. If you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions for staff? Okay. I'm going to open the public hearing. The applicant, please come forward and state your name and anything else you would like to add about your.
Hello, commissioners. This is Ardalan. I'm the designer of the project. I know we have made some changes to the design, so I hope this meeting get us closer to the approval. So regarding the decorative trusses and the bracket that we discussed before in the previous meetings, after some discussion between the contractors, planner, and also the clients, we decided to reinstate the brackets and also the decorative trusses into the design. So there is no more changes to those area. Regarding the decorative window shutter, we decided to eliminate those from the facade because we can bring more harmony to the design and more balance. And the last change will be removing the light with stone from the false chimney on the side yard. So there is no any clear view from the street to the side yard, and also the false chimney from the lower roof. The appearance will not good from the inside of the house. So this is pretty much it for the recent changes. If you have any question, I will be happy to answer those. And one more thing, there is still a request from the clients. If we can remove the decorative trusses from the bottom of the garage and also from the rear elevation, and keep the rest of those. Thank you.
Do we have any questions for the applicant? Commissioner Say?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. You were just saying removing the truss at the front of the garage,
At the bottom of the gable of the
under the gable there? And then at the left, no, at the rear elevation.
rear elevation, yeah, above the master bridge.
I'm trying to recall correctly, last time I was visiting there, was there something in the area of under that gable end at the garage that's preventing you from adding that truss?
Because of the complexity of the work, actually, there is some cable work for the camera, and then the client asked if we can remove that. Well,
Yeah, that's what I seem to recall, that there was a camera there or something.
yeah,
Right in the middle? I can't remember if it was right in the middle or on the side.
sorry, I cannot.
Was it right in the middle or,
Yes, in the middle.
okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant?
So just to be clear, what is on the screen here is what they are proposing.
But they've asked to remove the
Except
garage.
garage.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, otherwise you can keep those up.
Okay, great. Do we have any members of the public attending in person who wish to speak on this item, or did we receive any public comment emails?
No public comment emails.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm going to close the public hearing. Commissioners, do we have any comments or motions?
Again, I think we discussed this project at length. I appreciate that this is where we landed. I'm okay with removing the truss from the garage and the rear elevation. I'm okay with the changes as proposed.
I'm okay. I'm also okay with they mentioned removing the shutters, which had been discussed before. I'm also okay with those. So
Agreed.
Anybody else?
I'm good. I can, where are we on regular? I can move that we approve this project as revised and for the staff report,
Less the,
less the trusses on the front of the garage and the rear elevation.
I'll second that.
Great. We have a motion by Commissioner Safe, seconded by Commissioner Herrera. Any discussion? We have a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Pfaff,
Aye.
Commissioner Schmid,
aye.
Commissioner Shores,
aye.
Commissioner Say,
Aye.
Vice Chair Haran,
Aye.
and Chair Lowenthal.
Aye. That motion passed 6-0-0-1. An action by the Planning Commission is appealable to the City Council within 10 days of the Planning Commission's action. If the Planning Commission's action has not been appealed or called up for review by the City Council by 5 p.m. on the 10th day, the action becomes final. In order to be effective, appeals must be in writing and must be accompanied by an appeal fee of $900, which includes noticing costs. Congratulations. Wait for Commissioner Camarado to return. And we'll move on to item 9C, 30 Ingold Road. If you are the applicant and are attending the meeting via Zoom, please raise your hand so that we may be prepared for you to speak at the appropriate time. If possible, we ask that you also turn on your video at that time. Were any commissioners not able to visit the project site, or do any commissioners wish to know any ex parte communication regarding this project?
Yes, I communicated via email regarding actually a landscape plan that I couldn't find.
Okay. Anybody else? And we have no recusals. Let the record note that all commissioners present have visited the project site. Can we hear a staff report, please?
Yes, this is an application for amendment to design review for changes to a previously approved mixed-use residential development project at 30 Ingold Road, zoned RRMU. The proposed project includes increasing the number of residential units from 302 to 320 units. This project was originally approved by the Planning Commission in October of 2020 and included 298 units. In July of 2023, there was an amendment that was granted by the Planning Commission that increased the number of residential units from 298 to 302 units. This also included 2 below market rate units. So at the time, 2 market rate units were added and 2 below market rate units were added. That increased the below market rates from 43 to 45 units, and this is at a low income category. With this application before you this evening, the applicant is requesting a second amendment to add additional units, a total of 18 units, which would increase the total number of units on the project from 302 to 320 units. And staff would note that the number of low-income units would also be increasing from 45 to 50 low-income units with this application. A supplemental environmental analysis was prepared to assess the potential for changes in environmental impacts from the proposed addition of units. And it concluded that the project would not change the conclusions that were presented in the Class 32 categorical exemption that was originally prepared for the project. So the modified project still qualifies for the exemption under CEQA. I'll now turn it over to the applicant. They have a short presentation that'll go over the proposed changes a little bit more in detail than I did. And then we can go over questions after their presentation.
Good evening, Chair Lowenthal, Vice Chair Haran, and Planning Commissioners. My name is Richard Norris. I'm Director of Development for Summerhill Apartment Communities. Thank you for reviewing the staff report, plans, and project application and visiting the site. We appreciate the time you spent reviewing it. as well as the opportunity to share a project with you. For those of you not familiar with Summerhill, we are part of the Marcus and Millichap family of companies. We are a privately owned local real estate developer based in Palo Alto. Summerhill Apartment Communities, together with our sister companies, have been developing communities of distinction in the Bay Area for more than 50 years, including working on the Anson and Adrian projects here in the city. With me today is our architect, Brenna Weaver from BDE Architecture, who will review the proposed modifications to the building, as well as my colleague, Michelle Markowitz, back there. Also here remotely and available to answer any questions are Bruce Jett with Jet Landscape Architecture and Mona Sedagan with BKF Engineers. As detailed in the staff report, the project was originally approved in 2020, shortly after the adoption of the updated general plan and Rollins Road mixed-use zoning. Since then, we have pulled building permits for the project and received approval last year to amend the project to add 4 additional units, as Ruben mentioned. As a result of the state density bonus changing this past January to allow increased density bonuses if additional affordable units are provided, we identified that the building can accommodate 18 additional units with a minimal expansion of the building's envelope. Included within the 18 units are 5 additional below market rate units affordable to low income households making no more than 80% of the area median income. In addition, we're able to maintain code compliant parking ratios in the existing garage's footprint through the use of mechanical parking and sliders. I'll now turn it over to Brenna with BDE to review the minor changes.
Great, thank you. I'm Brenna with BDE Architecture. And this evening, I'm going to be walking through some of the revisions that Richard mentioned in his introduction. So if we can go to the next slide, please. So on this first slide, you'll see the project statistics. And the primary change since we saw you last is that we've increased from 302 units to 320 units. And at the top of the sheet, you can see the unit stat. And so we've added junior 1-bedrooms, 1-bedrooms, and 2-bedroom units to the project. And so as a result, our density increased to 114.8 units per acre, up from the 94.375 units per acre that we had previously. And so you can also see that some of the other project info, such as gross area, open space, those also changed as a result of this design revision. And all revisions are shown bubbled in red. If we go to the next slide, please. You can see that we increased the parking and bike parking count to accommodate the increased number of units. And so we're now parking at 380 stalls, up from the previous 358 stalls. Next slide. So now just to look at where we added those additional units and parking. On this first floor plan, you'll see on the upper left that we have added more parking by introducing a stacker system. And then in the purple on the left-hand side, this was the existing bike storage room, and we've added more bike parking to that room. On the next floor, thank you. You'll see that there are 2 areas, one on the left and one on the right, where we had tandem parking previously, and we've introduced a pallet slider parking system in lieu of the tandem parking. And if we can go to the next slide, please. This is our typical residential floor plan. And we decided to infill the gap on floors 3 and above on the left-hand side of the plan. And we've done this by adding 3 units and modifying the corridor so that it continues through. And these additional units carry up the building, the 7th floor. If you go to the next slide, please. This is floor 7. And on this floor, we've added a total of 6 units. And there used to be a low roof at this location, and that's been modified to livable space. So that's how we got those extra 3 units on this floor. Next plan, please. So now we're going to review the elevations. The facades on this sheet that face Ingold and Rollins had no revisions. So we can go to the next slide. And on this page on the top is the north elevation that also did not have any revisions to it. But of course, the elevation that faced west towards the park, we had some revisions because we have now infilled that gap and filled it with units. So on the right side of that lower elevation, kind of where you see that 008 called out, the project originally had the design language that you see now, which is where it had gray stucco facade with vinyl windows, and those vinyl windows were accented by the simulated wood siding. And so we took that language and we continued it. And we infilled the portion of the building with the new units with that same design language. So the portion of the facade where it's the white stucco with the balconies, that still pops out about a foot or so. And then the new portion of the building that we added has the gray stucco with the windows accented with the wood siding. And so we feel that this design is complementary to the existing contemporary style of the building and incorporates materials that were previously used throughout the project. And so with that, I'll turn it back over to Richard.
Thank you, Brenna. We are very excited to continue working in Burlingame and appreciate staff's thoroughness throughout the process. We have read and accept the conditions of approval and request your approval to the changes Brenna detailed to our project this evening. Thank you for your consideration. We're available to answer any questions you may have.
I just have a curiosity question. On your sliders for parking, is there a backup generator or something? There's something,
Yeah, so typically there's backup power that you can install if necessary, if the power were to go out. But typically the manufacturers of those stacker systems, which in this case, we're leaning towards a manufacturer named Klaus, they're able to remedy any of those problems pretty quickly. So it hasn't been an issue on other projects.
so no, you will not have a backup then probably.
We won't have a permanent generator
Permanent.
installed for them.
Okay, thank you.
Could you update us on your current schedule for
Yeah.
construction?
As you all know from visiting the site, we've demoed it and then gotten a pad and then raised it up out of the floodplain. We are currently anticipating starting construction in the spring of 2025, so this coming spring.
Thanks. Just another question.
Yeah.
Closing off the courtyard will result in a kind of permanent shaded area so that you're not going to get the sunset kind of sun going into that courtyard. So maybe the question is the pool heated?
The
It's
pool,
going to be
the pool will be heated. Yeah. And the pool, I mean, this is getting probably more detailed than you're looking for, is on the eastern courtyard. So there's the angles better for it.
Yeah, I was hoping to see an elevation from the podium courtyard out towards the west. Because I was trying to also understand, so you have closed off part of the courtyard and that open access, previously open access to the park, right?
Yeah.
So, but, you know, I think it's very creative how you've added 20 or 18 more units area, but I was also kind of concerned about shade and coolness in this courtyard.
I think Brenna can address that in the ratios of.
Yeah, just talking a little bit about like when we do podium courtyard projects like this, we're always very conscious of what our courtyard widths are. And so I want to make sure for the active courtyard where the pool is, that we have plenty of width. And I think we're up to a little over 75 feet there. And this courtyard was always intended to be the secondary courtyard. And so typically on a 5-story building like this, we want to make sure we're getting, 50 feet or so to feel like a comfortable dimension. Just from our history of doing podium projects, that's what we've noted as for a 5-story building, about 50 feet is necessary for that courtyard width. And so that's what we're getting to in that courtyard. And I think it'll end up be perfect for that more quiet programming that's intended for that space.
Well, thank you for that clarification. I can also see that you've more than met your open space requirement per unit. So that's good to see. Thank you.
Do we have any other questions for the applicant or for staff?
Just one brief question. In terms of the mix of the different kinds of units that you put in the new space, were those mostly driven by geometry, or were they more so driven by like market conditions, what you're expecting to be able to rent?
More geometry.
Okay, thank you.
All right, great. Thank you very much. Do we have any members of the public attending in person who wish to speak on this item, or do we receive any public comment email?
There were no public comment email.
Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing. Do we have any comments or motions?
I was just going to say that it continues to be a beautiful project. I look forward to seeing it built out. I think it was a creative area to add the extra units. And I think that by meeting the open space requirement, or more than meeting that, and all the other parking and vehicle parking and all of the other requirements have been met in full and completely. So in support of this moving forward.
Second that? Or was, we're not supposed to do that?
It wasn't a.
Well, want to make a motion with that or?
I didn't know if people had comments.
Go for it.
Yeah.
All right. I move that we approve this project per the conditions of the staff report.
And I'll second that.
All right, now we have a motion and a second by Commissioner Say and by Commissioner Pfaff. Do we have any discussion on that motion? May we please have roll call vote?
Commissioner Camarado,
Aye.
Commissioner Pfaff,
Aye.
Commissioner Schmid,
Aye.
Commissioner Shores,
Aye.
Commissioner Say,
Aye.
Vice Chair Haran,
Aye.
Chair Lowenthal.
Aye. That motion passes 7-0-0-0. An action by the Planning Commission is appealable to the City Council within 10 days of the Planning Commission's action. If the Planning Commission's action has not been appealed or called up for review by the City Council by 5 p.m. on the 10th day, the action becomes final. In order to be effective, appeals must be in writing and must be accompanied by an appeal fee of $900, which includes noticing costs. Thank you very much. All right, agenda item number 10, design review study items. First one up, 10A, 1519 Bernal Avenue. Were any commissioners not able to visit this project site, or do any commissioners wish to note any ex parte communication regarding this project? Seeing none and no recusals, let the record note that all commissioners have present have visited the project site. Can we hear a staff report, please?
Yes, this is an application for design review for a first and second story addition to an existing single unit dwelling at 1519 Bernal Avenue, zoned R1. The subject property currently contains an existing split level single unit dwelling with an attached garage, and the proposed project includes first and second story additions to the house that would increase the floor area from 2,504 square feet to 2,912 square feet, where 3,020 square feet is the maximum allowed. The existing house contains 3 bedrooms and would increase to 4 bedrooms, which requires 2 off-street parking spaces, one of which must be covered and is provided for in the existing attached garage, and an uncovered space is provided for in the driveway. Staff would note that the project you will see on the plans before you this evening do include converting 420 square feet of the existing main floor to a JADU, or junior accessory dwelling unit, which is administratively reviewed by staff, is not subject to Planning Commission review this evening. So the required design review findings are in your staff report for reference, and that concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do we have any questions for staff?
Just for my education, a JADU doesn't require a bathroom to be directly part of it.
They can share a bathroom with the main dwelling unit.
Okay.
Catherine, if I can just ask,
Mhm.
Is there something about, I think this JADU is the under the gable that we see on the left, right? Is that correct? Is that-
Correct. It's in the front of the house. It's
In front of the-
it's where the former living room and dining room. So
Is there something in that, in the regulations that makes it necessary to replace that window or move it?
they may need to meet egress and light and ventilation under the building code. But I would have to verify that when we come back. I could check on that before we return for action.
Okay.
Or the architect might be able to answer that for you.
Yes, I can answer. So we actually provide JAD in the front. The separate entrance required. So
Hold on one second. Let me open the public hearing for you. I appreciate you.
I'm
jumping-
sorry.
No problem. We just have an
Okay.
order of events here.
All right.
Do we have any other questions for staff until I open the public hearing? No? Okay, now I'm going to open the public hearing. Thank you very much. If you want to go ahead and address that question, thank you.
Okay, to answer the questions, yeah, definitely, this is a living space. The second egress and ventilation is required. So we provide three casement windows on two actually on the right-hand side and one on left side. That actually pretty much we have it. And also we provide a fixed window in the front, very large. That should be enough for the sunlight is coming through the J80. That's it.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Mhm.
We went a little cart before the horse, but that's okay. Did you want to do a more formal presentation or do you want to say anything more about your project?
I guess actually the Catherine already pretty much covered. So just want to let you know, we actually our addition is about like 940 square feet. But the most of the addition actually to the backyard is not to the front. We only have the small the porch just add in the front. So the in terms of like streetscape wise, we don't it does not impact any streetscape changes. So we try to respect the nice streetscape. So we do not actually want to change like a roof or some other the like bulky or the massive in the front. So that's why our design intends to keep the streetscape and then maximize our addition to the backyard. And then the backyard additions also within the roof ledge. So it's not actually visible from the street side. That's all I want to add it.
Great, thank you very much. Do we have any other questions for the applicant?
Yeah, on this A7, the existing elevations are showing windows without any divided mullions, but in reality, they do have divided windows. So you are changing the elevation
Yes.
style. So are all the windows being replaced as part of this project?
Yes, so the house is actually built in 1936, which is actually the original conditions. I don't know, you have a chance to look at the properties. Definitely we have to replace all the window and even the older the finished exterior stucco need to be changed. It's already, some areas already leaking and very cracks around, so we have to definitely replace whole entire finish.
And so just to make sure, because the elevation of existing shows no mullions, the plan is for the proposed elevations to not have any mullion.
Is that yes, actually that existing house actually show the mullions. We definitely changed the same the style, same the grid. We're gonna just try to replace it.
Maybe I'm still unclear. So you're going to replace the windows that are currently divided with windows that will also be divided, or with windows without any mullions?
You mean the mullion is that the glass mullion, or talking about the window
So
trim?
for example, the big window on the
Yeah.
left side currently is, I think it's a 5 by 3. So it's divided into 15 lights, and you're showing one big piece of glass.
Yeah, we try to make one big piece of the glass. Is that the issue?
No,
Yeah.
We'll talk about it later, but I just want to make sure I understand.
Yeah, so as you can see the elevation, yeah, that's exactly what we need, what we're trying to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Yeah, the windows that you're planning to replace with, I'm seeing that you're saying vinyl windows.
Yes.
Do you have a manufacturer that you're choosing, or because we don't traditionally agree with vinyl windows? So unless you've got a composite window that you're looking at?
We try to actually, I guess actually we submit the material board and we show that the window, the Milgard manufactures the V300 series, which typically pretty good the energy efficiencies to pass the California Title 24 energy calculations. So most of our projects are using that windows, but yeah.
No, I wanted to hear.
No.
Could I ask a question about the windows on the rear elevation? Just the design intent of the master bedroom having those 3 very large windows?
Master bedroom and the backside?
Yeah.
Yes, we have two, master bedroom, when you see elevations, you see the three windows actually the side by side together. Both sides actually we have a casement window, so actually you can openable, but in the middle that is a fixed window. And then when you see the linear light, the window, that actually the bathroom is above the sink. And then the other window in the left, that also casement window is for the bathroom as well.
What is indicated on the page A-2 below the aforementioned windows? The pattern, is that a pattern in that
I'm s-
wood? Trying to figure out.
I'm sorry, which number?
It's A-7, and it would be proposed southwestern elevation. I
Uh-huh.
think it's, yeah. What are the, well, I don't,
It's the roof.
oh, God, never mind.
Okay, yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, excuse me, I figured it out. No, my neighbor figured it out.
okay, thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Commissioner Say?
Oh, yeah, on that roof, so in the staff report, it says that the standing seam metal roof is an accent.
Yep.
roof. How did you come to decide on that
I-
roofing material?
Yes, so basically we try to keep existing material which is asphalt single roof mostly, but when you see in the back side, we have a standing seam metal roof in the first floor, because we actually try to extend out the additions for first floor, not the second floor, because we are trying to respecting to the neighbors. So we try to maximize the first floor. To do this, when you extend out, and then if you make like a asphalt single roof, then we cannot make like a shallow slope. But standing steel seam metal roof is allowed like a 1 to 12. So we make the shallow roof to accommodate the large window on the second floor as well. So that's why we're using stainless steel metal roof for first floor only on the back side. So you're not gonna see on the front side.
I have another question about the front elevation. In the roof plan on A4, you're showing that the roof over the front door slopes left to right, 1 to 12. But then the elevation and then the colored rendering appear to show that that roof is sloping towards the street.
Give me a second. So you're saying our roof plan A4, the standing seam metal roof showing 1 to 12, and
On
then
the front door,
front
at the-
door.
at the
Yeah,
front
so
entrance?
yes, that actually that's showing the 1 to 12, which actually so when you see in the front, will be the flat, because we're gonna actually the trim around to show I mean the fascia board. But want to make sure actually the water should not be leaking or get into the valley area. So we make a very shallow slope from the roof to the ground side. So that's why we're showing the 1 to 12.
There's a light blue line dashed in so you can see.
I'm looking at this color.
Oh, if you look at,
It doesn't, it looks like the roof is, maybe this is just.
look at the elevation.
That there's also a dash line there, but it's really hard to tell on the.
Yeah,
plan.
the dash line showing just behind of the fascia board. So that's showing the 1 to 12 slope.
Really, I had to look really closely.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, I understand. Thanks. It
Yeah.
was more of a clarifying question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
I had a question on the proposed lower floor plans. It's actually, what I think I'm looking at is that that large square window at the front is in its own little box bay that kind of projects out by 2 feet, but I'm not sure if I'm seeing that on the elevation. So I'm
Oh,
trying to
yeah.
see
So
if that
that
is-
actually, yeah, that's good questions. Actually, we try to show that is actually the bay window is allowed to the maximum the 2 foot. So this one actually we're gonna using the same opening, but actually we're gonna try to make a bay window, and it does not showing. It's not actually distinguished from the front, but that must be we show in the. Oh, I'm sorry, actually, I thought it would show, but we actually, yeah, we missed that. Elevations, side elevation supposed to show that bay window, but actually, yeah, we didn't actually show it.
Mhm.
Yep, that's a good point. Definitely, we're gonna update it for this. But we do have a bay window.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Do we have any members of the public attending in person who wish to speak on this item, or do we receive any public comment emails?
There were no public comment emails.
All right, I'm going to close the public hearing. Any comments? Commissioner Pfaff?
Yeah, all of the openings look very large, all of them. The door, all the windows, and that's exacerbated by the fact there are no mullions in there. I love that you're reusing the building as much as possible. That's great. I think it needs some work on, at least on that. I'm just wondering about a design review, but I don't know how that is with the JDU in it. But I think it could really benefit. I think it would be helpful. That's my 2 cents.
I'll go. I agree. I think that this, go to the design review consultant. None of the windows are working to scale. None of them have any trim. It's flat. The standing seam metal roof doesn't work. It's the fact that it's extending so far out the back like that to create that situation is not a good design. The pop out in the front doesn't work. The flat roof over the entry is going to leak. I see a lot of things going sideways on this, and then I'm super concerned that this is going to get FYI changed crazy. So I think that there needs to be some considerable work done on this to be able to make it passable. The colored elevation does not help it at all. So I highly recommend before back that you look at a lot of the other examples that we are getting for renderings in 3D, because you have a complicated house and it's not going to get explained with those elevations.
I agree, and I would like the consultants to look at the type of windows that they're using. Because I think that this particular block of Bernal has some newer houses on it and has some good charm, and they've maintained, there's a house that I know that is on the way where they just are adding some to the facade that we approved just a few months ago, and it's a really pretty block, and this, it doesn't quite fit that block, is my sense.
Sure say.
Oh, yeah, I agree with what my fellow commissioners have said. Additionally, I mean, I appreciate how a lot of the front has been retained and a lot of the massing of the house. And I know we can't speak to the junior ADU from a design review perspective, but at the back, I'm particularly concerned with from looking at Google Maps, I didn't go into the backyard to take a look, but there seems to be some pretty extensive views from neighbors behind and to the side of this property. And I think it's important that the back of the house and the side of the house look as cohesive with the existing home or the front of the house. So I too agree that the standing seam metal roof doesn't serve its purpose. It's definitely not accent. It looked like it was more functional for a reason, but also noting that there are 4 different roof slopes on this roof plan is a good indicator that that's probably not an ideal roof design for this proposed project. But I agree that it should go to a design consultant.
I also have one question, and maybe this is for staff to talk to the applicant about. Not sure, but maybe the junior ADU doesn't really need to be a junior ADU. I mean, they can utilize it for whatever they want to utilize it for and have access to it anyway. I don't know if we're giving them, if the junior ADU allows them to have more than what's already there anyway. So I'm wondering when, I don't know if I'm overstepping my bounds here with, okay, Ruben is saying yes, but
Yeah, unfortunately, we can't comment on the proposed JEDU. That's the applicant's choice.
One other thing, sorry. The house actually has decorative rafter tails and decorative trim, which has been totally eliminated. So I don't know how you're going to be able to keep rafters and not have the decoration, but then not do anything with it. So this new design doesn't match the design of the house at all.
Mhm.
So a decision needs to be made. Are we saving anything or are we not? And it needs to be a cohesive design.
Right. One of the questions I actually forgot to ask is what's happening to those rafter tails? Because houses like these don't have a lot of detail to begin with because of how they're designed and the purpose of their design and everything, which is fine. But like, for instance, in addition to just having lights, right? Both of the windows on the front facade, the big one and that slider as depicted, which I think is a different window on the actual building, they both have sills, right? And there aren't any here of any kind. And so when all of those little details are not there, I think essentially I don't have a problem with this project conceptually at all. But I think that there just needs to be more attention to details, especially on the primary facade.
I usually don't repeat myself, but I will this time because I think I agree with everything the commissioners have said. I just encourage you to look at the windows really carefully. They're just too big and they don't make sense. The biggest windows are in the bedrooms, like very unusually large windows, especially in that rear master. And then pick an architectural style. It looks like it's trying to be modern, but yet it's all over the place. So, I don't think it's cohesive. The roof slope is a good call out as one of the telltales of that. I do like that you're saving the building. I like that the street elevation is, largely intact with the exception of these changes to the windows. Even the big window that you've put above the front entrance just doesn't look to scale anymore. The original entrance looks a lot more appropriate. So I think there's work to be done. I really don't like the shed, standing seam metal roof. It's too long and the slope is too shallow. So I don't mind the kind of the massing of the building, but it's the roof and the windows really need a lot of attention.
And a very large door. Super large door.
Yeah, there's not much else I can add. I mean, I agree with everything everyone said. I would echo Commissioner Camarado's point to walk around this block of Bernal, because unfortunately those beautiful houses are not doing this house any favors as far as approval. You can't have white vinyl, no mullion windows on this block, let alone almost anywhere in Burlingame.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're going to send this to design review. Does anyone want to make a motion to start?
I'll make a motion that we send this to design review consultant with the feedback that they've gotten from us this evening.
second that motion.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Schmidt, second by Commissioner Camarado. We have a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Camerata,
Aye.
Commissioner Pfaff,
Aye.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Aye.
Commissioner Shores,
Aye.
Commissioner Say,
Aye.
Vice Chair Haran,
Aye.
and Chair Lowenthal.
Aye. That motion passes 7-0-0, and that action is not appealable. All right, moving on to 10B, 2319 Easton Drive. Were any commissioners unable to visit the project site, or do any commissioners wish to note any ex parte communication project?
I spoke for about 10 seconds with two of the occupants on site.
Thank you very much. And no recusals. Let the record note that all commissioners present have visited the project site. Can we have staff report, please?
Yes, thank you. This is an application for design review, front setback variances, special permit for building height and declining height envelope for second and third story additions to an existing two-story single-unit dwelling at 2319 East Drive, zoned R1. Subject property has an existing single-unit dwelling with an attached garage, as well as a detached accessory dwelling unit. Easton Creek runs just beyond the rear property line, and the applicant is proposing a second-story additions on the left and right sides of the existing dwelling and a third-story addition at the center of the dwelling. The floor area would increase, the would increase to 5,692 square feet, or 5,700 square feet is the maximum allowed. The applicant is requesting front setback variances for the proposed front setback on second and third floor additions. The addition, the block average is 20 feet 7 inches, and the proposed second-story addition would have a 17-foot setback on the left side, 20 feet 6 inches at the right side, and the third floor setback would be 20 feet 2 inches. The applicant is also requesting a special permit for the proposed building height, as well as declining height envelope along the right side of the dwelling. The proposed overall height would be 31 feet 2 inches. The existing single-unit dwelling contains 6 bedrooms, and with the proposed addition, there would be a total of 10 bedrooms. The zoning code requires 2 covered parking spaces and 1 uncovered space for 5 or more bedrooms. The parking requirement is met on site with the existing garage, and uncovered spaces can be met on site as well. Staff has provided for your reference this evening the findings recommended or required to be made for design review, for special permit, and for variance. And that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
How many bedrooms?
She counted 10.
No.
Thank you very much. Do we have any
Thank you.
for staff?
I think actually he probably answered. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to open the public hearing. The applicant, please come forward, state your name and anything else you'd like to add about your project.
How are you? My name is Alex Wolodarski, designer for this.
Could you talk a little bit closer or bring the microphone down?
Alex Wolodarski, I'm designer for this project. It's been ongoing project for the last 4 years. We've done slope stability work. The backside was sliding into the hillside. We did the ADU, and now we have to retrofit the main house. So the house is not 10 bedrooms. The house is only 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms upstairs, and 2 half bathrooms downstairs. It does not have 10 bedrooms or 7 bedrooms at all. It does have ADU, which is not part of this project. Other than that, please ask me any questions. I can explain what we have in mind.
Great, thank you very much. Do we have any questions to the applicant?
Actually, I do. So the existing house now, is it a full 2-story, or is it a split level type of?
No, it's a full 2-story. The first floor, it's an older house. It's about 80 years old. First floor is about 9'3" ceiling height. Second floor is 8-foot ceiling height. And it's completely 2 separate stories. But the first floor was big rooms, but second floor has small rooms and very uncomfortable. So that's what we want to remedy.
Okay. Were you aware, I'm just going to ask you probably don't know, that the house was built by Henry Higby Gutterson, who was very active in the area and born 1884 and passed away in 1954. So
No, I
all
didn't know.
very eclectic styles.
Yeah, and this house, just in case you probably would know it better than me, it was added twice before, on the second floor and on the first floor. So it's not original design at all. It was added twice.
Thank you. No, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Could you talk about the roof choice in terms of going from hip to gable on the extension?
On one side in the front, we want to change it simply because it will show better from the street side. Everything else will stay as is. On the back side, the other way, we want to change it to provide more space and more headroom. And it just looks better as well. Right now, the house is super wide and not tall at all. It's like pancake. So I want to try to remedy it as much as possible. And the height of 31 foot, 2 inches or 3 inches, it's to the top of the roof and you don't even see the roof, you know? And in my opinion, it stays with the roof slopes. It stays with exactly the roof material. As a matter of fact, we want to remove the roof, carefully reinstall it back in. And it's a 3-layer roof right now. So we want to use the bottom layer, new one on the top. So it would look like a brand new roof, but 80 years old. And we want to stay exactly with the windows, wood windows. We want to stay with exactly the same finishes, stucco finishes. We want to make it absolutely seamless addition, like it was brand new 80 years ago.
I did have one more question regarding the third, see if I can find that one elevation. There's one where you show the third story from, I guess, it's the creek side. Let's see
What
if
sheet?
I can find that. The back.
What page?
It's a 3.4.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is that the back side of what we're seeing on the, oh yeah, I see.
That's the backside.
It's the back side, yeah, because that roof, again, the roof, I had very similar question to my, as my colleague about the roof choice, the gable to the gable roof change. So,
Right, from the side, it will not be seen. It's only seen from the back. And the reason for that, we want to add the height in the back of the building. Visually, it would look better and more stunning
and the,
of a flat shed roof, per se. It's,
and the choice of the windows, which don't really, they don't emulate any windows patterns that you already have on the home.
they will not change at all. It's just like exactly the same windows as.
No, I mean the new section. The new,
Section will be exactly as the old one.
no, I mean the third floor.
Yeah. Third floor, the only window that we're adding is a big window in the master bedroom.
Right.
And it will emulate the window below in the dining room and the window in the library. With exception of the middle portion, which is fixed,
That,
which provides better view. That's all.
oh, that was the one I was asking about.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
The rest of it has true dividers. I mean, it's a true divider wood window, custom window.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant?
I just lost it, so.
If it comes back, let us know.
I mean, the whole idea is on the front, there's a tiny little room. And I know this building was built 80 years ago and they didn't think much of it. But the room is only like 8.5 foot. And all we're doing is we're extending it and making it into a bedroom that it should have been to begin with. I don't know why it wasn't, but that's the way it is. In terms of the front setback, you can see the shape of this lot. I mean, it's absolutely incredibly difficult. I took the measurements of the entire street myself, and it varies from 13 feet to 72 feet. I mean, it's crazy. The setbacks is crazy, and there's nothing much I can do, but it's a very difficult building to work with, and to design something is, to make it look seamless is not very simple. So we tried.
Are you, can I ask one more thing?
Oh, go ahead.
I want to acknowledge that I did anyway, I think most of us got an email from someone in the neighborhood, or neighbor, I don't know, someone nearby, concerned about concerned about a number of things, but about the engineering and such, but you are doing that through, you can build 3 stories and you're confident that.
Well, no, it's absolutely no problem. This building has absolutely huge foundations. They're deep foundations. There's a half basement, utility basement, and a 3rd floor that we're planning is right above that extended basement addition. So there's absolutely no problem structurally. we're civil engineers, so when I design something, I kind of come from a standpoint of, are you able to build it first, and then design what you can build? Not like the previous project that you guys looked at, because the headers on that project didn't work at all, but that's just, sorry.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Do we have any members of the public attending in person who wish to speak on this item? Or did we receive any public comment email?
There were no public comment emails submitted.
All right, then I'm going to close the public hearing. Thank you very much. Do we have any comments? Who wants to start?
Gonna be me?
Sure.
Yep. Walker? You want to go?
You can.
Well, I understand wanting to call attention to it more itself, that if that's your goal, with using the gable roof. It's a beautiful house, whether it has additions or not. So our goal here, no matter what the project is we're looking at, is that it hangs together. And I'm not quite so sure that roof, to me, hangs together, but the one on the back, it's the back of the house, but to me, that the third story addition looks like well, 3 stories is, first of all, very unusual, especially with full, unless it's on a slope lot, which this is slightly sloped, but not like a real slope. I don't think the windows work with the ones that are already in place, and I
Explain, please.
well,
So right in-
Our public hearing's actually, our public hearing's actually closed right now.
just my comments.
Okay.
So I think this could be improved, re-looking at the roofs and also the pattern of the mullions, that they hold together more with the house. So anyway, that's where I'm starting.
Commissioner Say?
Yeah, thank you. So, starting off reading the staff report, I was, shocked to see all the different requests that were being made on this property until I started to dive into the drawings and can understand the complexity of the lot, the various and wide-ranging front setbacks along the street, even the varying heights of the structures along the street. So I can understand where these requests are being made, from declining height envelope to height to setback requests. I think all in all, the massing feels nice on the house and goes with the style of the home. I also don't see the roof, the new gabled roof areas tying in with adding to or complementing the beauty of what's there now. So the roof over the garage, I think, would be just as voluminous inside the room with a hipped roof, and would complement the front of the house better. Definitely at the rear side of the house, the addition almost looks like adding a ranch style home as an extra layer on top of the house. I think that those roof lines in particular would benefit following the hipped style that we see around the house, and especially on the rear, because there's that nice bay window with really pretty roof line around it. And I think that it would be embellished by adding more such roof lines to the rear of the house. I found it really hard to follow this set of drawings from sheet to sheet. There were scale changes, and then one floor would be on one sheet, and then several sheets later before you see another plan of another floor. And I think it'd be very helpful to organize this set of drawings so it's easier for us to view and read and to help you. What was I going to say about one of the things too I found is there's a lot of kind of line weight issues going on. I don't know if it's the printing of the sheets themselves or the line weight being used on CAD. It's hard to see where some of the new construction is and where the existing is, and also hard to tell what's happening with the window profiles, the window trim and casing and details. It's a very pretty home. There's a lot of details to show. I think you've done a nice, they've done a nice job showing the tile roof on the elevations. But we can see from window to window, sometimes there's a single line representation, other times there's a double line representation, other times there's a 3 lines. And so it's not really clear what the indicated or the desired window casing or finish would be around each of those window sashes. At the front elevation, there's the existing kind of a built-out stucco trim that wraps around the large, the stair window? Or I think it's a stair window at the front. I think that could be replicated over the additional large window that's going over the staircase, and to have a similar design over both of them. There's something to tie them together, sort of like how they've added some detail to the windows above the current stair windows to match some of the others along the left side of the house. Anyway, I'm having a little trouble just kind of seeing consistency of details and design intent around the house, and mainly want to comment that I don't feel that the gable roofs work. And then I do feel that I can support the front setback requests and even the declining height envelope. And then what was the other thing that?
The height.
And the height, yeah, there's some, at least 3 homes I saw right in the vicinity that were taller, definitely taller than this house, and generally in the field. They might have been set back a little bit more, but I think that with this unit, the 3rd floor master suite being centralized, and with a kind of a low profile hipped roof, I think that can fit nicely in the center of the structure. So I can see supporting that. Thank you.
Well, can I answer any of it or no?
Nope. Sorry.
I'd just like to add, I'm more mixed than the other commissioners who've spoken so far on the gable and hip roofs. I think generally the design would generally be improved by more hip roofs, because that's sort of the design they're going for, but I don't think that they're completely incompatible. And I don't think that they're like a random butterfly roof sticking off the side, right? I think that they can work. I think that I have more concerns about just specifically the wood cladding in the gable ends on the rear end, but that's the only major issue, or I shouldn't say major, that's the only concern that sort of stuck out to me. I think that the design would be improved without those, and also just there's a good use of wood corbels. I think that those would be a good addition underneath that 3rd story overhang, just over the existing balcony. They're already on the 2nd story overhang on the rear end. I did just also want to say that generally I was very impressed with the selection of windows on A7 that are looking to be put in. I'm really happy to see lots of wood true divided light. They look very high quality, and I do appreciate the intent to match with the existing windows, like the leaded divide lights, and sort of keep those flows going. And especially I'm appreciative of the other very, very large window that faces directly out the street. It's going to be like the other stairway window they're making for that 3rd staircase. I think that's really nice to see. I think generally I'm also in favor of all of the variances as well for this project. But I'm also happy to see that the demolition is very focused, and there's no intent to touch parts of the house that don't need to be touched. That's just generally nice to see. It's not an issue one way or the other. That's basically all I have to say. I'm generally pretty happy with it. I would like to see maybe a different go at continuing with stucco in the gable ends or some other material. That's it.
Yeah, I agree with my fellow commissioner. My personal preference is hip, but especially in the front, it's not a deal breaker for me. I lived in Switzerland for 3 years. The back upper additions look like a Swiss chalet, which is not in keeping with, I think, the Spanish style of the house. So I agree that the wood trim just, to me, doesn't go with the architectural style. The massing's good. I would have thought I would be concerned about a third story, but it actually works in this house. And I would be supportive of the variances as well.
So, for myself, I feel like the third floor on the backside is just kind of like a little hat that's sitting on top of the house. I'd like to see it move more in the direction of more cohesiveness there, or really fitting into that second floor. It just feels like it's a lot taller. And maybe it's not, maybe it's just the illusion of the rendering. And I'd like to see the windows on that third floor and maybe some of the new windows be more cohesive with the rest of the house. I just feel like they're not all matching, and they don't need to be matching, but a little more cohesive throughout. I am in, I can approve the variances. I don't have a problem with that. I would just like another go round on this third floor.
I like the project overall. I like the concept of what's going to be saved. I like the architecture that's there. It's a nice looking property. I can support the variance requests. None of them seem unreasonable to me. And I'm falling on the side of the hip side of this conversation as well. I actually like these gable ends. I design these gable ends. I use them all the time. But I'm not seeing it, and I don't do Spanish style homes. So I'm not seeing it for this particular style here. I think that the hip would actually help bring down the scale on that back and front elevation. So, but otherwise, I think it's a good project.
Commissioner Say?
I was just going to add one thing to address the letter that was received by, I'm presuming, a neighbor. There were some, concerns about structural failures and the creek bed and where things are built and such. And I just wanted to, note that, of course, we're here to speak on the design review aspects of the home, but all the numerous community development departments would be addressing all the issues to ensure, of course, safe and sound construction of the home.
Yeah, I guess finally, I mean, we're here for design review. I find the design to be complementary to the way the house was originally built. I walk this street every day with my dog, and I think this would be a lovely addition to my walk. I think it is a really attractive home as it is, and I think this improves it. I don't disagree with my commissioner's comments. I think what they said will actually improve the look as well. So I'm in favor of moving this forward to action. I can also find for the different variances. I totally understand where they're coming from, and I don't find them to be outlandish. And it sounds like that's kind of unanimous. So unless anybody feels differently, do we have a motion to move this to action? I can make a motion. I can. I will make a motion to move this to act with the variances as stated, and hopefully some comments will come through to the action meeting.
I'll second that.
So are we saying with our comment, the majority of the comments regarding the roof, et cetera, and the window consistency? Is that part of the motion or no?
Comments.
We're giving him the comments. If he comes back with the same design, he can. We may not approve it.
Okay,
But
got it.
I don't think it's enough to not move it forward.
Okay,
guess my-
got it. Mm-hmm.
So we have a motion by myself, Chair Lowenthal, seconded by Commissioner Schmid. Any other discussion? Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Camerado,
Aye.
Commissioner Pfaff,
Aye.
Commissioner Schmid,
Aye.
Commissioner Shores,
Aye.
Commissioner Stay,
Aye.
Vice Chair Haran,
Aye.
and Chair Lowenthal.
Aye. The motion passes 7-0-0-0. Thank you very much. This action is not appealable.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice evening. That wraps up agenda item number 10 for design review. We're now on to agenda item number 11, commission reports. Any commission reports?
I think so.
No? Okay, agenda item number 12, director reports.
Yes, the only thing I wanted to share was at the December 2nd city council meeting, the ADU ordinance update was introduced to the council, and it's going forward for adoption at their next meeting on December 16th. And then the ordinance becomes effective 30 days after that. I believe that's January 15th. City Attorney Michael Gina also has something to share.
Thank you. Thank you, Ruben. Commission members, I think that you've heard the news. The Assistant City Attorney Scott Spansale has accepted a position with MTC. He's going to be joining the General Counsel's office there. The former Burlingame City Attorney Kathleen Kane is the General Counsel at MTC. So he's going to a well-known supervisor. His gain is certainly our loss. Scott has been a really important part, I know, of this commission and how it works. And he's been a really valued member of my team. He unfortunately can't be here tonight. He's homesick with the flu. He was going to try to tough it out tonight, but he looked like he was just needing to be in bed and not contaminating the rest of us, which is why I think, but he did send his regards, his regrets for not being able to say goodbye to you all in person. I think that he'll probably reach out to, the commission separately after tonight. But I just wanted to let you know that the city attorney's office will be going through a recruitment. You're going to see me in this chair. Sometimes you're going to be seeing outside counsel that I'll need to get in and help me fill in as well. So I apologize in advance for kind of, you're not going to see the same kind of, the same face, but it's my commitment to you all and to this body that you will have, a continuity of service. It might not be me all the time, but we are going to be providing you, the same level of legal support. I am not going anywhere, so if you have any questions or any concern, I am here for you as well. So that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I also wanted to mention that our second meeting in December is canceled, so this is the last meeting of the year. Our next one is January 13th. If you also notice that for the 2025 calendar, we also canceled the meeting in November for Thanksgiving week. So we will not have a meeting on Thanksgiving week in 2025.
Ruben, regarding the Mercy High School review at City Council, is that coming up next week as well?
That's actually been scheduled for the January 21st after the council meeting.
Interesting.
Thank you.
And this is the last paper packets that we're receiving?
Oh, yeah.
This is ceremoniously the last paper packet, so I don't know if we want to have a bonfire in the park.
Oh.
But yes, you will be receiving everything in electronic format starting in January.
Okay.
Netta also sent you an email regarding some suggestions for how to bring forward your comments or how to display the plans. I think she encouraged everyone to bring their own devices that you feel comfortable with. But certainly, if you have any follow-up questions, you can reply to that email.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Honey's going to be sad that she doesn't get to come to our houses anymore.
So sad.
On to number 13, do we have any future agenda items? Nope.
Oh, I do. Sorry.
No.
Can we maybe ask our city arborist with this new tree ordinance that's going to go into effect to kind of come and give us like a 1, 2, 3? It would really help, I think, so that we can understand a little more about how we need to look at these projects.
That's a great idea. Yeah.
Yeah, we can talk,
I'm a little confused.
Mhm.
we can talk to, yes, City Arborist, Rich Holtz about that. There was a lot of detail discussed at Planning Commission and City Council meetings leading up to the ordinance, but I think maybe perhaps you can give us a good, like a summary version of it or a condensed version. And we can schedule that either at a upcoming regular meeting or perhaps a study session so we can look into that, sure.
That'd be great.
It doesn't have to be really long. Just give us
Yeah.
Mhm.
a bit of where we're at. Thanks.
And we are adjourned at 8:35 PM.